Good day, dear friends, or good morning, good evening, depending on where you're located at the moment. We have a great list of people here from Alaska to Sacramento to Madrid, Yekaterinburg, Belarus, all kinds of other cities from all over the world. We have a very interesting map that we're looking at of all the friends that are participating in our lesson. As usual, today we're going to continue our study of the book of Zohar, and I think that today we will study from this book, the Russian book, page 556, called The First Commandment. And in the English book, English Zohar, that's page 276. And first we'll talk about the material, then we'll take your questions, and we will answer them. So, the Zohar, article The First Commandment. What is the commandment? There is only one commandment. What is told to the creature, commanded to the creature, to change itself, with utilizing all the forces that are given to it, to elevate itself to the level of the Creator. The Creator had created us, like as we said numerous times before, in the worst, most negative state, distant from it, so as to give us the opportunity to independently determine the state as negative, as reverse, the lowest one in reality, and to try to ascend. What does it mean to ascend? Which force do we use to ascend with? How do we measure our states of ascent and descent? All these things are things that we must reveal in our path and learn to control and learn to ascend ourselves. Not to pull ourselves out by our hair from a swamp, naturally, but it's a complicated job. It's not very simple. It takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of nerve and will. But what else? What other reason do we have to exist? Over thousands of years, tens of thousands of years, we've been performing this task unconsciously, choosing, moving between, by the principle of bitter and sweet. For thousands of years, we've been coming into this world time and again. And we were governed very simply. The system would always add egoism to us. Here we have a box where this is me, and the system would add ego to me each time. It would always increase. We will measure it in this way. And we then would need to perform an analysis of this ego. And the way that we analyzed it was always either good or bad. Good meaning it's pleasant to me, it is sweet to me. Let's write sweet. We say sweet. Basically, there are some people, for instance, who receive pleasure from something bitter, but that's also sweet for them. That's what they feel is sweet. And bitter. So we have sweet on one end, bitter on the other end. And in this system, we always very naturally, very subconsciously, we direct ourselves to greater and greater ego. And nature governed us in this way by adding ego to us time and again. And we would then always try to do something with it, to realize it somehow, how to draw closer and closer to the sweet and to get more and more distance from the bitter. And sweet and bitter would always constitute various notions for us in every generation, in every period of time, depending on where we are, who we meet and come in contact with. There are different sets of values that were developed and formed, and depending on those, we would perceive sweet and bitter as different, but we're always trying to get closer to the good and move away from the bad. And this is how we've been developing all this time until the year, let's say the year 2000. And here everything ended. From this point on, we began to develop by a very specific structured goal that is different from this bittersweet system. What is my instrument of analysis? It's my body, meaning my senses, my perception, sensation, right, sensation. This is enough for me to select between one and the other up until this point. But from here on, something else has been added to us. Now we see that there's another box that we consist of. It is this analytical block, and it is an analysis called truth and false. True and false, or truth and falsehood. And this determination of truth, this definition of true false, it is contrary to bittersweet. I may feel bitterness, but it would be true, or I may feel sweet, which would be false. So now I find myself between these two analyses. On the one hand, I must determine for myself very objectively truth from false. This is something that does not depend on me. It needs to be objective. Otherwise, I remain in the analysis of bittersweet, as little kids do, or adults that are not very developed. They accept whatever is sweet for them, they accept it as true, and whatever is bitter, they accept it as false. First of all, we must figure out what is the true and false, regardless of my own individual analysis of bittersweet, as though we exist outside of our body right now. This is something that can be learned. And then we must correlate between these two analyses so as to have this analysis of bittersweet would have absolutely no influence on the analysis of true false, and that is the analysis we would use in order to advance. What is this? True is everything that helps us advance toward the Creator, and false everything that prevents us from doing so. And on that basis, we can then analyze the bittersweet as something foreign, something else on top of everything. So this analysis of bittersweet is called the animal analysis. Animal, because all that we need is our body so as to make this analysis correctly. But the upper analysis is the analysis of the soul. It has no connection to our body, to our sensations, to our understanding. It has nothing in common with it. This analysis begins when the point in the heart begins to awaken in the world. The analysis of the soul in the point in the heart. This is how you and I advance. So today, the most important thing for us is to try to always keep to this type of analysis with respect to the point in the heart. Not to imagine ourselves not as existing in a body. You give the body everything, whatever it needs: food, sex, rest, family, shelter, work, everything that it needs in this world provide for itself, take care of itself. All this is necessary for the body, and this is something that you must give to it in a normal way that a regular person in our world provides for themselves and takes care of themselves. Not a gram more. Everything else beyond this level of necessity must be focused on the analysis of true-false. The analysis of true-false, in this analysis we must make no less than 613 analyses. You go to the doctor, for instance, and he tells you, these are the tests, the analysis that you need to make for me. Just as a side note, blood itself has 600 parameters, just blood, only blood. But because we have 613 desires in the soul, every desire, to check every desire, to sort every desire, whether I'm working it in a correct way, meaning toward the Creator or toward myself. So I have 613 of such desires, and I must analyze each and every one of them to reveal them and this exists at every single degree. 613 desires that are revealed, or every one of them is revealed at each of the 125 degrees. The Creator had given us plenty to work with. However, this work has two parts, in addition to everything else. The first part is called correction of the desires, 613 desires. And the second part is called the fulfillment of 613 desires. The correction of the desires is done by ascension from Malchut to Bina, and the fulfillment of the desires is done by the ascension of Bina to Keter. And in this way, we who exist here today in Malchut, we go through two phases. We correct ourselves to Bina, and then from Bina to Keter we fulfill ourselves. All of our 613 desires on each degree, these 613 desires, they, like in a human body, a person has all of his organs and bones and tissues and fats and all the internal organs. They are the same in a small person and in a big person. They're the same amount, but there's different size, different level of development. The same thing exists in us. The 613 desires exist in every single state of level of us, but they differ in development as we go further. So the Zohar gives us a different picture. There's nothing for me, no way that I can calculate all these desires. I can do it on my fingers. Obviously, it's all very complicated, and we're getting into really higher mathematics here. But in order to make this task simpler for us, not to replace it with something else or reduce it to something small, no, of course not. But in order to, how do I put this? So to give us a different style of correction that is going to bring us to the same exact result, but a different attitude. We could look at our correction at a different angle. To this end, the Zohar proposes that we separate all of our corrections into the so-called commandments. Commandments meaning those main orders. Commandments meaning this is what I command you to do. Altogether, there are 14 of them. Well, that's not so many right now, not 613. We can maybe even use our fingers to count them. So let's take a look at them. And this is how they begin from first to 14 in an order not in a random arbitrary order, but in the order that we need to perform them. So now we're given a very concrete task, not to do all kinds of random things, but start with with this one thing, and then as you move from it, you'll be able to control yourself, to study yourself, to study the forces that surround you. And in this way, gradually, you will find the means of your subsequent development, so that every next debris is going to lead into the other one, to the next one. And you perform these small corrections one after another. Just like in this world, we move on from one grade to the next grade, and then again to the next. So let's begin with the first commandment, and we're going to try to analyze it and reveal it, clarify it for us, which is then going to help us understand how we can continue or begin and then continue our correction. And it's to understand it in a simple way. Furthermore, if we begin to study these commandments, they're so complicated, and they're so multifaceted, and they consist of so many different notions of mercy, justice, and so many other things. It's really going to confuse us thoroughly. It's very, very, it's really like the higher psychology. It's the psychology of the soul. It's something that we would not be able to accomplish if we study these 613 ones. So the Zohar tells us that we don't have to do it. In the beginning, the Creator created, whoever is reading, the first mitzvah commandment, the root, the foundation of everything. It is called fear of the Creator. Or as it is written, fear of the Creator is the beginning of wisdom. Fear of the Creator is the beginning of wisdom, for this fear is called the beginning, and it is the gate that leads to faith. And the whole world is based on this mitzvah. And this gate that he first did is the gate, the quality of bestowal, the gate of leads faith, the quality of bestowal. So what is this fear? We need to understand what is fear, because we are comprised of this very primordial, very natural desire to receive pleasure, and we feel very clearly a suffering. We feel it as a lack of fulfillment. We feel as suffering, and fulfillment we feel as pleasure. As a result, we are very easily controlled through suffering and pleasure, because this is our animal part. That's first of all. Second of all, we can independently determine for ourselves, what am I being governed with now, by pleasure or by suffering? Where am I deviating? Where do I need to go, right or left, in order to make changes? What do I do to change my values between suffering and pleasure? All in all, the fear is the beginning of wisdom. Fear of the Creator is the beginning of wisdom. And the Creator, the Zohar tells us that there are three kinds of fear. Fear is essentially what's called a trepidation before the Creator. Why do we need to be fearful? For instance, if we look at we have an adult person who's come to the Kabbalah. What does it mean that now they need to fall into some kind of fear? Of course not. Kabbalah tells us that we don't need to go through these base emotions, but what the Zohar tells us is it explains to us how to come to the love and unity with the Creator. So we're now at item 190. There are three types of fear, two of which have no real basis, but one does. If man fears that his children may die, or fears illness or body suffering, or fears for his material well-being, this kind of fear, even if constant, is not the basis or root for spiritual growth, for only desirable consequence constitute the cause of fear. This is called the fear of punishment in this world. This fear that he's describing. But there's also, this is why this fear is not the fear that he needs to have. It's not going to bring him to anything good. But this is the kind of fear that we need in order to exist in our minimal state, or minimal fulfillment. But there's also another type of fear, the fear of punishment in the world to come, in hell. But this fear is also not going to bring a person to anything good. But you can tell me, but wait, if people wouldn't believe in fear hell, they would do whatever they want, and this fear actually keeps them in a behavior that is socially acceptable, and it makes them to calculate how to behave towards others. And if it hadn't existed in them, maybe they would behave very differently. And they wouldn't make these calculations as they make today. Today, a person calculates in a way that, I'm going to make something for others. After I die, I'm going to leave something behind me, and people are going to remember me. So he thinks that he's going to continue to exist in this way. And a lot of people in this world this gives them a lot of strength, a lot of motivation to continue working and living. We know people are given a lot of people are controlled essentially with the idea that there is this future world, and if they knew that it didn't exist, maybe they would be a lot more criminally minded because of that. So the Zohar tells us that this fear to fulfill oneself and fearing for lack of fulfillment in all this way, it's not the basis or root. But the real fear, item 191, is the fear of the Creator, for He is great and almighty, for He is the source of everything, and all is nothing compared to Him. Man should concentrate all his intention on attaining this kind of fear. So what is this real fear, the true fear of the Creator? The Creator doesn't need to be feared. The Creator is the force of love and bestowal of the upper force that exists around us. And because it's absolute, you don't need to fear it. You don't need to be in trepidation before it. It exists all around you. In its way, in its true way. It cannot be any lesser even or any more. So what can you can only fear somebody who can change their attitude toward you. For instance, be good one moment and then be bad. Not something that is constant to you. For instance, a child knows that that the mother will love it completely. The mother's attitude will not change. So he can do anything he wants because the mother will continue to love the child. So then what kind of fear are we talking about here? The true, real fear is the fear of the Creator. If we characterize the Creator as this absolute and constant, unvarying force, because the Creator is absolute, so that's why it cannot change. It's constant. It's a law of love. Then it completely eliminates any ability for me to change toward Him. How can I change if it's absolute toward me? But Zohar tells us on the contrary. Zohar tells us that, on the contrary, it is in this state, precisely in this state, that we must find in ourselves a source of changes that would ascend us, elevate us to this level of fear, where we would be in trepidation before this absolute, constant, unvarying Creator. Imagine a child that rises to a level of consciousness where he is afraid that he's going to cause his mother even a little bit of pain or evil. He needs to come to the level of love toward the mother as she has for him. So demanding this from a child or from the creature, this is a state that we can come to, we can attain. This is what the Zohar tells us. How do we attain it? This is what Rabbi Shimon tells us in item 192. Rabbi Shimon started to weep, wailing, "Woe if I reveal, and woe if I do not reveal," of how to make it happen. If I say, the sinners will know how to work for the Creator's sake, so as to receive everything from Him, like a little child who can suck everything out of the mother. And he will do anything he wants, and he will exhaust her completely. And if we knew how to approach the Creator as these complete sinners, this is what we do. This is how we would act, whether we want it to or not, because such is our nature. And if I do not say how to come to the Creator, like to this all-loving mother, it will not reach my friends, Rabbi Shimon says. Meaning, they're not going to start changing to be like him in this absolute love and bestowal toward him. And naturally, they will remain in their egoistic, primordial desires. And that is why he says, I am afraid of revealing this method, because if the sinners, if they free themselves of punishment, they will never be able to correct themselves. Therein lies the problem. Therefore, he tells us again further how we can do this. By the way, all of us are sinners. It's just who we are. If you reveal something for us that fulfills us, we would run after it right away. We would not be able to rise above these pleasures and move towards anything higher than that. So there's a reason why we reveal for ourselves this path that the Zohar presents for us. And along this path, but even right now, we can see, we can understand why this path is hidden from us. And time after time, as we walk along this path, it becomes revealed to us. When we do one particular set of actions, it reveals for us something very different, something seemingly unconnected. And it is done so that we don't fully reveal the system by which we could make contact with the Creator, which is this unbounded pleasure, which twists us into submission immediately, and would not grant us the opportunity to move toward it independently and in bestowal. Rav keeps reading. Wherever this true sphere, opposite and correspondingly below, stands an evil fear which strikes and prosecutes. But he who, item 993, but he who fears punishment by whippings, the true fear of the Creator cannot descend upon him. Instead, evil fear overtakes him in the form of fear and punishment by whipping. Therefore, the place that is named fear of the Creator is called beginning of knowledge. This is why this mitzvah is included here, and it is the foundation and source of all the other mitzvot and the Torah. And whoever observes the mitzvah of the fear of the Creator thereby observes all the others, but he who does not observe the mitzvah of the fear of the Creator does not observe the other mitzvah of the Torah. For this mitzvah constitutes the foundation of all the others. So what is he saying is here? That the person will not be allowed near this Creator, which is the source of all the pleasures in the world, but only to the degree when this fear or trepidation exists in him to relate to the Creator in a way that is not that the Creator does not relate to him. So to the extent that we develop a similar attitude to the Creator as the Creator has for us, when I am ready to do the same for him as he does for me, only then in this particular aspect of it will I be able to do the same. Otherwise, like those little kids, we find ourselves falling into this, how do I put this, dominion of being in a mother's love, and we end up the egoists that are incorrigible. And so we need to understand that this commandment of fear of the Creator, fear, trepidation before the mother of the mother, it has this very simple basis to it, condition. I am afraid of losing control. So if tasting from the fruit of knowledge, and of sinning, meaning receiving for myself, but I will always try and strive to only act with bestowal and love.
That is why the one who transgresses this commandment, his punishment is earthly fears. He begins to descend into fears of this world and the fear of death. Well, this is something that's prominent to people, beginning from the Pharaoh and so on. And then it says the world was empty and the Spirit of God reigned over the earth. So this speaks that if a person descends and if he's in this fear, how is he corrected? Punishment and Torah don't mean that he's being punished like in our world. Punishment always means corrections. So what kind of corrections does he have? When the world is empty, then he's as though choked. It's not choked like we understand, but it's a perception of the soul. A chaotic state. It's like stones falling. When falls a big canyon means that it's when stones fall. When there's a lack of understanding that hits his self-love. And then darkness, it's like the fire that burns sinners. The feeling, the perception, how to put this, complete lack of knowledge. The knowledge exists, but to only understand that it's not there. It's a very scary state. And then the Spirit of the Creator. When the person is completely severed from the connection to the Creator. And at the same time, as we have learned before, you begin to feel a hot wind. And the person begins to enter into 3 bad klipot, and he falls under the parsa on the bottom. And over here we have 3 evil klipot. Ruach, Sarah. This is this wind. I wouldn't say that it's a desert wind, but it's like a storm, something like that. Wind. Then we have Anan Gadol. This is a big one. This is a big cloud that plucks out everything spiritual from it. And Ish Mitlakachat. This is a huge fire. Well, it's this roaring fire. And it falls in this cliff. And this is where a person was in this connection to the Creator, Bria, Yitzhara, and Asiya. And then you have Mahsom and our world. there's nothing worse than our world, of course. If you can imagine, hell, it's a lot higher than we are. Hell is really just shame that really burns a person. So this is whatever person falls, the one who doesn't fulfill the commandment of the sphere, because this commandment includes in itself all other. When in the beginning the Creator created heaven and the earth, and you say that the earth was formless and empty. And this is something that really must come to pass through all of us. But it's very difficult to go above if you don't try even for a little bit, even for a little, all these punishments. We can't move forward if we don't burn ourselves, even a little, because it corrects it. And we know that each coming stage is built upon the negation of the previous one. And you can only build it when you completely negate and the previous your previous level, and you see its evil, its evilness, its pain, its evil. So this is we must really feel all these four types of punishment, and coming from the initial level, then going to 1, 2, 3, 4, the levels which are combined into our own egoism. That's how we ascend to the next level. This is how we pass through this first big commandment that's called the commandment of fear. Fear before the Creator. So fear of what? To be like Him. To be equal to Him. Similar. To be similar to Him. This is the first commandment. Of course, the Zohar explains it here a bit more. I am skipping for a bit. I think there's maybe 3 or 4 pages of text that you guys will have to read on your own. In total, there's like only 4 pages here. Please try, it's very good. We begin to understand in such a way that the very first thing we have to do is to rise above all the earthly fears, to understand that the Creator is the one and only one. He is a culmination of all the forces, which means that He's one, and that there's nothing else except this one force that governs everything around us. And a person is also the opposite of the Creator. He's also the only one. And everything else is encompassed inside a person. There's no surrounding world. There's no space. There's nothing above us. This is all that's formed inside me. Only inside me. That's why the very first manifestation inside me that I begin to feel inside me as a soul, that I begin to formulate myself, it's the manifestation of fear towards the quality of bestowal and love that's called the Creator. When I begin to cower, will I be able to reach this quality? Can I desire for only this? And only in this, for the sake of all this, I must direct myself to realizing this inside me, to the birth of this quality inside me. When a person begins to direct himself in such a manner to this first quality of fear of the Creator, he, inside him rather, in this quality, he begins to feel the state of love and bestowal. And slowly, he begins to reveal the Creator. But he reveals him only in a manner of his in the manner that he reveals it within himself, he reveals the aspect of the Creator. If he reveals it in a different way, then something else adds, and he reveals a different aspect of the Creator. So, always, the Creator remains in the person as on the basis of Bore, commency. So in the manner in which a person corrects himself, and the style and this quality, he begins to reveal the Creator himself. Quality against quality, measure against measure. Well, I already went over. Manuel from Madrid is asking, what is the difference? Fear before the Creator and faith above reason. How to characterize this? Fear before the Creator brings a person up to faith above reason, above the quality of reception. What's important for us is to properly translate the faith above reason, bestowal above reception. This is how I build inside myself this system of what's important. I'm not talking about my desire to receive. I'm talking about what's important to a person. If I build myself in such a way, then in this way I aim myself towards the Creator. Here I begin to analyze how much fear, how much pressure I have inside me to reach this state. This is the first. This is what the first commandment puts in front of us. Well, really, we have a lot of questions. We have a question about. We have a question from the United States, who tells us that religion is opium for the masses. Well, what does that have to do with anything? Well, how can I pass through the fog of all the religious confusion to awaken, to feel this difference between the fear of the Creator compared to what a person may have some religious fears, or that to which religion offers some sort of solutions. So, a religious guy from America, right? He's telling us, he's quoting us Karl Marx. Very good. Religion is the opium for the masses. That's really so. I completely agree with this. Because religion develops in the person only two types of fear. Fear primarily of heaven and hell. Am I gonna go to heaven or end up in hell? That's what religions put in front of a person. So there's no confusion here, because Kabbalah doesn't operate with these notions. For it, heaven and hell. Heaven is my complete or partial adhesion to the qualities of the Creator that I feel here in this life, and there's nothing is said anywhere about any afterlife. And hell is when I feel myself opposite of the Creator, and this feeling brings inside me this feeling of great shame, and it really burns me from the inside. And this is the agonies of hell. That's it. Alex from Alaska is asking, I'm beginning to be disappointed in the surrounding reality, and all these things slowly begin to lose meaning for me. Does it mean that my ego is decreasing? Well, first of all, you have all these different states in a person's life, like different values when the person begins to take interest in something else, or he begins to feel disconnected from everything else. This is normal. This is fine. If a person is, is in a healthy state, and he'll come to see that. But in order to make the analysis quicker here, a person must be closely connected to those around them around him that have a similar goal. For example, the hunt for the white bears. Quickly find a group of people for you who like this, who do this, who talk about all these things, how to get this done right. If you chose Kabbalah, then quickly as quickly as possible, then try to exert as much effort as possible to learn from that group of people, to be together with them. So try to speed up time by means of connecting to a group that shares your interests. And then all these your seemingly decreased desires towards everything else or fulfillments, you won't even feel them as though they're decreasing. But you'll utilize them in a manner in which you feel necessary. A person must lead a normal life with a family and so on, and that's what you do. You take these conditions as commandments also. They're conditions that are necessary in order for you to reach the goal. And you really must, everything depends on how fast you can really put yourself under the influence of the right environment that will help you reach the goal faster. And this way, so you mean egoism grows? Yes, let it grow. But you need direction under the right influence. This is the same thing we do in our world. If I want to acquire some good profession, then I connect myself in a certain environment, a certain group of people. And from a different group of people, I distance myself from, for example. Alexander is asking, is fear and the greatness of the Creator the same thing? Are these two connected? Of course, these two are connected. First of all, we must say that these are measures that are unidentifiable. It's not something we can measure with complete certainty. I can say that I'm feeling right now the Creator, for example, for only 20%, or he weighs right now this much, and right now I weigh him upon myself in such a manner. This doesn't exist. It's all in relation to the person. That's why we must always aspire to the maximum fulfillment of our qualities and to strive to expand them more and more. And the true means of measuring all this will only be revealed to us in the final correction of all the souls combined and unite together. And everything that's going to be is going to be a reward for our sensations. Then I'll be able to say that right now, for example, I feel the Creator 100%. And without that, how can I know? Next. Michael from Moscow is asking. The first commandment is the first understanding of first commandment is the first way of understanding the system of reward and punishment. Yes, that's how we learn. Another question from Madrid. Is the fear revealed in the state when we fear the Creator, and when the Creator is revealed, will it disappear? Fear is revealed only in concealment of the Creator. As soon as the Creator is revealed, then you see the feeling of love, bestowal, and everything else disappears. All types of fears. But a person must really accumulate the fear and this fear of loss of the Creator, so that when the Creator does appear, this fear won't go away completely. And that must be used in such a way as to catch the way in which the Creator loves against one's fear. And then this fear will not, it will neutralize me. It won't allow for me to use him for myself and in all the selfish manners that's possible. For example, the Creator revealed himself to me for 20%, but I feel that this is immense love. It's completely selfless, so that can't affect anything. So you see, it immediately pushes me towards immense egoism. And for these 20%, I want to drink everything out of it. And I feel all these different egoistic states, and this is where my egoistic desires, egoistic development ends. That's why the Creator only reveals the person when he's able to receive everything in respect to his fear. And this is really sitting strong inside a person, and a person is constantly in this proper movement. So it comes to be that fear on the next step can be even greater, of course. And this is up until a level when you have 100% of fear when you receive at the last stage. That's why fear is called a vessel, a place where a person, where the Creator reveals His love. If a person won't have it, for example, take a look at a child, for example. What will happen if you give him complete love and nothing else? You must have this condition so that we are able to preserve our distance, our sense of sense of self, as though creatures that are standing opposite of the Creator. But it's necessary. I must nullify myself. Otherwise, my egoism that's inside me and the pleasure that's inside me, they will do anything they want, and I'm like a rug. I'm just completely sold out in front of all this. That's why I must I need to screen this feeling of fear. We have a listener from Lithuania who they want a clearer explanation on what must a person fear. A person must fear egoistic, to egoistically relate to the Creator. And this is only through the group, only through the study can a person begin to acquire this screen, this help against himself. Only in such a way. It's a lengthy and difficult work when this screen finally appears. Another question from Pavel. When a person, if God is absolute, how can He change? He only changes in your eyes because you're the only one changes. If the mother is has infinite love for her infant, she's completely revealed to him. Then she's not changing. Do you call her dead then? No, she does everything for him. She does an infinite amount of actions and movements in respect to what he likes. But she herself, at the same time, she's unchanging. Her love is infinite. A person doesn't feel this. He feels that a person feels that the Creator changes before him because the person is the one who changes constantly, the same way as a child. Question from Greece. He said something that he wants confirmed. Fear is spiritual blindness. The opposite. In the manner in which I have fear, the quality of wisdom enters inside me. The quality of the Creator is the light, and in this. In the light of my relation with fear to the Creator, I reveal a higher wisdom, His relationship towards me, towards others, all these forces, qualities, all of reality. He begins to reveal His system before me, because I'm a participant in this system, and I begin to understand how to properly relate to Him. That's an analogy as to how He relates to me. So in the manner that I want to do all this based on the quality of bestowal towards Him, it's a very beginning state. Then the state of bestowal enters, in the state of bestowal enters wisdom, understanding of this whole system. Because for me, inside me, I must have the same relationship. I am the analogy of the Creator. I'm as though I have His image inside me, and I begin to understand who is He, what is He, and I begin to become equal to Him. I am the opposite of Him, and we are both equal. This is the state that we are aspiring to. That's why it's not a stupid action, but through this I begin to reveal a completely new world. Huge steps, constant ascent, where I ascend through different levels in worlds where those worlds are bigger than the world where I am right now, based on their size, on their measure, on the wisdom. Our world is very limited. It's like a small reflection of some lower levels. Go on. From a question after questions, if you're our friends, go towards questions of my Congress. Friends in Toronto are heading to. Raf says that invite everybody to the Mega Congress, as many people as possible from everywhere, from all the different places. Doesn't matter. Even if in your city you have 2 or 3 people other than you, then gather together, make some sort of a small meal together, drink something, eat something, sit together, look at us together. It'll immediately give you a similarity to what's going on in other places. And the law of similarity will allow for you to unite and to receive from all of them the same strength that will really fill all of us. Thank you all of you for participating. And next time we're going to go over the second commandment. There's one more question from women. Is there some sort of a special role for women at the Mega Congress? What must they think about at the Congress? Women must participate in everything the same way as men. Absolutely in everything. Thank you. Goodbye.
Посидите вместе, посмотрите нас вместе. Это сразу же придаст вам общность, подобие тому, что происходит в остальных местах. А закон подобия, он позволяет вам соединиться и получить от всех уживительную